Okay, my full name is Lucy Smith. My maiden name was Kreisler. I was about barely 6 years old when the war started. I was with my mother in a small village. There was kind of vacation. I am not quite sure from what, because I didn't go yet to school and my mother didn't work. But anyhow, it was summer. The house we lived in, we were the only Jewish family there. And we did not have any contact with other tenants because there was so much anti-Semitism in Poland that I guess my parents were afraid to reach out. Well, after my father left and bombs were about to fall, I don't know, I don't remember if they were or not, but we were afraid of it. So all the tenants of the house were in the hallway by the entrance to the house, and that way for the first time we did get to know each other. And it turned out that our fear was not needed because these people were really very nice people and there would be no problem whatsoever. So for about almost a year that we still stay in that house after German came in, we had very good, close relationship with all those people. Eventually came some Nazi family and threw us out. They wanted our apartment and our belonging, and that was already according to Nuremberg law that excluded first German Jews and also all Jews whenever a Nazi came in. From the law, we were no longer part of the law, we were outside of the law. So anyone had a right to do anything and there was no recourse. My mother's parents ran a business. And of course, at that time, they were no longer alive. Fortunately for them, they died before the war. But the business that was inherited by my mother's brother was not now run by her sister for a while, because the brother also ran away toward Russia. And Germans or Nazis took away all businesses belonging to Jews and assigned administrators, their own administrators. The one that we got was Ukrainian, and Ukrainians were not known by being very friendly toward the Jews. But this one was a very good person, and he saved our lives several times by warning us about actions that took place. And we didn't know yet about it, but he told us about the first one and sent us to attic above that apartment that we lived, to stay there while he was staying in our apartment to stop anyone that would go toward the attic. And we were there, I think, 2 or 3 days. And he also was staying and make sure that no one would help us. Later on, Russians were then attacked by Germans and withdrew from Lemberg. they took a lot of people with them that were run away, but not my father, who stayed behind and wrote real document, but not ours, like a certificate of baptism from some Polish family, and sent us to ghetto that. And with those documents, we ran away from ghetto. We went to Warsaw, and my father also came to Warsaw from Lemberg. He lived separately, he had different name, and unfortunately I never learned what was that name, and for that reason I can't find in any documents what happened to him, because I don't know for whom to ask. Because he was caught and killed. For me, it was always pretending. I never considered that. I had a really very strong Jewish identity, and I don't know, I didn't know much about Judaism as such, just identity of being Jewish. And it was kind of strange because I learned about it only when the war came. Before, I didn't even realize that there was difference between people. And
but you didn't practice? I mean, your family didn't go to the synagogue?
Not that much. I remember once being in synagogue, but that was with my mother's brother, and never with my mother or my father. Religion is a story here, when I joined a synagogue here. Before it was the fragments of this or that, and my mother's stories, mostly adjectives, how wonderful was a Passover at her parents'. But besides hearing how wonderful it is, I never could really figure out what exactly was going on, how they did it, what they did it. So when I started to do mine, I had to learn from scratches.
I understood you tell me here you are more connected with the Jewish community.
Well, a kind of idea that since I already suffer for it, I may just as well know what I suffer for and learn it. And when we talk about even Holocaust or all things, it began to be kind of certain pattern, and people don't even remember that Holocaust is not one thing, but a lot of experience of a lot of people, and they are different. But what I kind of called it like having a common room named Holocaust. Because when I go to school sometimes, and children ask me, have you ever met Anne Frank or have you ever met Hitler? They imagine that Holocaust is like a one room where everyone knows each other, like the classroom or something. And the same thing happened in that synagogue, because our group is composed of people representing practically every country in Europe. We were not all together in one room. So when they make a play and put us in that one room, talking to each other as if we were in one room, it's kind of strange and not accurate, and distorting the reality of it. I don't know if anything can be done about it or not, but
Sorry.
Well, at the beginning, when we first got together, we were all surprised because we were discovering that in each country it was a little different. There was a little different symbol of Judaism, different variety of things. All of us, when we meet around the table, speak English. But English is not a language of any of us. We have previous languages all that most of the time we don't use really, and we don't brag or talk about it that much, and people don't even talk that much about their experience of adaptation. And for example, for me it was several countries, because I went to France and then I lived in Germany and I traveled to Spain and I traveled to various places, and then I came to United States. So each time I was having learn a language and get acquainted with another culture. And all of that is part of my experience, that I don't really talk about it. No one asks me about that. But that's part of me, much more than just my childhood, because my adult life was composed of that kind of experiences. And how much this more lax attitude toward what is right and wrong and legal and not legal is important when what guides you is more what is right and wrong than what is legal or not. Because if you think about it, or whatever Nazi did to us was totally legal, because they pass a law to make it legal. People expect us always to talk about our childhood. And when we are kind of reaching end of our lives, well, something happened during our lives too, besides the childhood. And all these changes of countries and adaptation. When people came back, when we lived in that apartment and full of people coming and going, and all this customer of the moment that make hats and all that, we really did not talk about our experience that much. People were saying, oh, I'm coming from Russia, or I'm coming from camp, or I'm coming from hiding. And that was about it. No details. And everyone was more talking about how to make money and how to go through border, or how to get married, or whatever. Anything connected to go back to life. And there were people who committed suicide too. But I like it, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much.
Your first name is Alfonso?
Felix.
Felix. Okay.